people who aren't here can benefit from all this wealth of information. So, are we ready? Welcome to the Alberta Heritage Center for tonight's Budget 101 workshop. This is the first in what we hope will be a series of events, our Civic Engagement Initiative. It is an election year, as we all know, and so there'll be candidates that we want to talk to, there'll be issues that we want to talk about, and if there's anything on your mind that you would like us to try to put together an event on, I would love for you to give us some feedback about that. So tonight we are lucky to have Cathy Anderson with us, a village resident, former clerk here in the village, and also former member of the Budget Committee.
The Budget Finance Audit Committee.
She is going to share all that information that she learned on the job with us tonight. So thank you, Cathy.
You're welcome. So, hello, Cathy Anderson. I am thrilled to be here tonight. I'm also super excited to see people here who care about their local government. We need more of this, and thank you so much for the people who came out tonight, and thank you to everybody who's watching this afterwards. It means a lot to become engaged. All right, so tonight, roughly 3 sections. Very quickly, I will go through what is a budget, what are the laws, regulations for it. I have the citations in here. The presentation will be made available afterwards, and there are active links in the presentation. So people can look this up for themselves. It's not a trust me presentation. And then we will walk through the village budget very quickly. I allotted like half hour for this. And then we can sit, and if there's questions that you want to ask the Budget Finance Committee or Council, we will talk about them and maybe craft some questions. And if we do come out with questions, I highly encourage that we get those into the hands of the Budget Finance Committee and council members as soon as possible, because to spring questions on them half hour before they vote on this budget is not fair. So, all right, any questions so far? All right. Welcome, Kay. All right, budgeting, laws, regulations, and guidelines. I'm going to try not to read the slide to you, just highlight some things. We do have a couple key items of legislation, and again, when this presentation goes out, these are active links. So it'll take you straight to the Michigan Department of Treasury site, local units division, where these are hosted. All right, but we have a Uniform Budget and Accounting Act. We have a Uniform System of Accounting. Those are laws. Actually, those go to the Michigan legislation site. The ones below go to Department of Treasury, Local Audit and Finance. And those are the guidelines and regulations that are used to implement the 2 laws up atop. Now, there are a whole lot of other laws covering securities, debts, tax levies, other things. We're not covering those today. We're just going to budgeting. Good? Okay. All right. Apologize again for the eye chart here. Some definitions. As you look up in the upper right-hand corner, as you look at your budget sheets from the village, you will see that every account has a code to it. The first 3 are the fund. The next 3 digits are the activity, which we call a department. And the final 3 digits, and in our case, it's 3 digits, dot, point, are the account. All right, so per the regulations in the state of Michigan, the budget is a plan of financial operation for a given time. In our case, from March 1st to February 28th. If it's a leap year, we go to 29th. We kind of ignore that day. We have 2 28ths. Not every municipality is the same. Villages are March to the end of February. Like the city of Frankfurt is a June to end of May, I think. Something like that. The state of Michigan is a October to September 30th. The federal government is October 1st to September 30th. Don't quote me on those. Oh, quote me on the federal government. That one I know. I know the village. But not every period of time is the same. It's 1 year, but it's not the same date, start and end dates. And you may see that like on your Gilmore Township taxes versus your Alberta taxes. All right. The budget is that plan. It's an allocation of expenses. It is an estimate, so it can be changed. And there are rules for that. The fund is a local unit. Each fund is self-contained. It has to balance out within each fund. When we say balance out, it has to be zero or net positive, right? Usually by a small amount. Yes, Dan?
So we're doing our Gilmore Township budget right now, and I'm a trustee for Gilmore Township. Does this all apply to Gilmore just like it does for Alberta, or is it different?
Yes. So the question, I'm going to repeat the question for the recording. So the question was, in the Gilmore Township, does all of this apply for the Gilmore as a township as it does for the village? And the answer is yes. And in fact, those regulations that were on the first page there apply to every municipality in the state of Michigan. So you'll see we implement them a little bit differently because the village is not the city of Detroit.
Thank God.
Right. All right. So going on with there, we've got the fund. That's a balance. That's a total balance item. You'll see we'll go through the funds here in just a minute. An activity, which we call department, is a grouping within that fund, and an account is a type of asset liability inflow, outflow. And for example, there is a fund activity and then 702, that's always a wage account, regardless of the fund or the department. 702 is always a wage account. Okay? So you can see there's patterns as you go through this, and they will help you. And in fact, as I go through this presentation, I am not repeating, the first time I talk about an account will probably be the only time I talk about that account number. And that account number may and will show up in a lot of other places, but I'm not going to repeat every time we see that because we don't need to. A wage is a wage. All right. All right, we got some basic or practical rules. So we do know the village council needs to adopt a budget prior to the start of the fiscal year, in our case, March 1st. The public is allowed to question or comment at a public meeting. A public meeting is required. It has been published in the paper. Got eyes on myself yesterday. And the budget is submitted with a resolution. The resolution will provide information about how that budget is being implemented. In the case of the village, the budget resolution says at what level can money be moved around inside any account or any department without requiring an amendment. Right? So you want to take some money from here and put it there. It has, as long as it balances, if it does, and it's in compliance with the resolution, it's good to go. All right. It also talks about who has the authority, who's got the dollar value that the clerk can commit to, the dollar value that the treasurer, who can actually make these alterations within the budget without tripping into amendment category. Okay. And a proposed budget may include, it has in the past, I haven't seen any this year, some notes that explain if there are major differences from prior years, if there are changes in the structure, like the addition of a new fund, which we did relatively recently, addition of a new department, which we're looking at tonight, and any very large planned expenditures. The village is yet again looking at a new plow, which I think the village has been looking at a new plow since I've been here. So we're on at least year 13 of that. Although this year they got this really nice blade. Have you seen it? Oh man, it's awesome. It's this huge blade on the, anyway. Well, the truck's working too, but it's got this, I will not go into how the plow works for you guys tonight. It is one of my joys to be awake in the morning and watch them plow. All right, so continuing on, the budget must balance at the fund level. We talked about that one by showing a 0 or above a net gain. By approving the budget, the council is effectively pre-approving these expenses for the year. So they can go, so the village office can go ahead and incur the expense without having to go like, hey, council, can we write paychecks this today? No, it's been pre-approved. Even so, the council is presented with a list, if not a list, a total for each month that they approve. Kind of, it's almost in a retrospect. They approve after the fact. Okay. And Dan, as you asked, the budget laws and regulations apply to all Michigan municipalities. Period. So whereas the village, we tend to manage things at the fund level, they do not do that in major cities where departments are vying for money. So each department has to manage its own budget.
So is BLUA its own taxing body, own budget?
No, BLUA is a partnership between Frankfurt and Alberta.
Okay.
And it is, there's an agreement, the village pays a certain percentage based on population. The city pays a certain percentage. It's been done this way as long as I can go back. I've got the BLUA agreements from the inception of BLUA that I have gone through. And other than, I got a kick out of one that said, if the population of Alberta expands immensely, we can readjust this every 5 years. So, yeah, so they were hopeful once upon a time. All right, chart saying these are our funds. We have 7 funds. We have our general fund, which is 101, major streets and local streets that kind of go together, 202, 203. Municipal streets, that's our newly, within the last 10 years, created one, that's 204. Parks and Rec, 208. Sewer, 590, and water, 591. So within each of these, the general fund, its purpose, it is the chief operating fund for the village. And it basically covers everything that's not covered elsewhere. Its primary revenue, property taxes, state revenue sharing, which comes from sales tax and other tax contributions, state tax contributions, and the life-saving station rentals. There's other things in there, but those are the big hitters. It is also the least restrictive fund. It is the one the village has the most leeway to deal with. It's also the last fund we'll be walking through tonight. All right. Major and local streets. The village has a street map that is approved by the street administrator, sent to the state every year. The Michigan Transportation Fund, which is a combination of the gas tax in the state of Michigan and the federal gas tax, is distributed to the municipalities under the auspices of this Act 51. The Act 51 has very narrow restrictions on how that money can be used. So it is probably the most restrictive set of funds, 202, 203, that we have. And moving on, municipal streets. Municipal streets, the revenue is the village and county property taxes. So if you look at your village tax, it does have a road tax on it. That's going into municipal. We created it so it had few restrictions. We used it to homeroom the garage, which homerooms the DPW. That's where their benefits are held. That's where, if they don't have tasking, they sit in the garage. It also provides matching funds because the Act 51, you cannot build a new road with that. You can repair an existing road, but you cannot build a new one. If you want to build a new one, you have to have matching funds from the local municipality, and this is where we can accrue those matching funds in the municipal streets account. All right. Parks and Rec, 208. Major revenue sources are going to be Parks and Rec fundraisers and the Alberta Dunes South Endowment. When Alberta Dunes South was created by the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy and the fundraising was done, they they raised enough money to create an endowment. The village Parks and Rec is handed about 4% of that endowment every year to maintain and improve Alberta Dunes South. It is generally managed by Parks and Rec. It is, within the audit, within the auspices of the offices, they move money at the behest of Parks and Rec, but Parks and Rec gets to set their own budgets, gets to choose what projects to do. Sewer, that's our sanitary sewer. Yeah. I love our sewer. Okay, plows and sewer. I'm sorry, guys. I geek out over industrial things. So the sewer fund, it pays for our sanitary sewer operations. It also pays for BLUA. All right. We see on our village tax, there is a sewer tax in there. And then, of course, well, for those of us who live in the village, yeah, our rates. That's what most of the revenue comes from. Similar to water. Same thing with water. It's the drinking water operations, the well and pump house, wells and the pump house maintenance, upgrades, and since the great, the gift that Flint gave us, the service line upgrades that all municipalities have to do now. Thank you, Flint. It is funded by the water charges, and we do get some grants for some of these things because we're small and poor, and our burden is much higher than other large municipalities on a per unit cost for service line upgrades. All right, both water and sewer are called enterprise funds. They are supposed to be managed as businesses. All right. Businesses that aren't turning profit back to the stakeholders. Their profit gets turned back into the infrastructure, but they are managed as enterprise funds, managed as businesses. Okay, do a time check here. Okay, all right, so that is the basics of our budget. At this point, we're going to step through. And we're stepping through it in the order that I used to do when I was in the office and reconciling these funds. I go from the cleanest to the messiest. So we're starting with the cleanest funds, which are the most restrictive, major and local streets. So if you have a copy of your budget in front of you, find your major streets fund beginning.
And I'm sorry that the printouts are printed out the way they are. Sorry.
Well, if you, oh.
It's like upside down.
Okay.
On the back.
All right, so we're going to have to build in a slight delay here because the people in the room have to deal with two-sided copies that are not a little unwieldy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with the major streets revenue, very similar to the local streets revenue. All right, we get Act 51 shares. That is from the Michigan Transportation Fund. It's an allotment, and it's based on the number of miles of streets that we have in the village on this map that is attested to annually by the street administrator. Okay. It has the state, as I said, the state federal gas tax, state vehicle registrations in there. The major street fund also includes compensation because M168 was decommissioned, and the village took on the burden of a trunk line, which is now Frankfurt Avenue, and gets an extra $16,000 a year for that. I want to add, don't quote that number. I don't know the exact number, but it's a big chunk. It's a hefty chunk that comes for taking on a state trunk line, especially a really short trunk line. All right. Equipment charges as a revenue. All right. Major and local streets, 50/50, own the village equipment. That's the equipment that gets depreciated. That's our trucks. That's our plows. That's our lawnmowers. The front end loader. The DPW keeps a log of which piece of equipment they use doing what for how long every day. And the state of Michigan, MDOT, puts out an equipment rate rental schedule. And combined, you look up the equipment, all the accoutrements it has, tells you what the hourly rate for that piece of equipment is. And that's whatever account used that piece of equipment, whether it was mowing along the side of Frankfurt Avenue, or if it was regrading the beach, right? Those are tracked, there's an hourly rate, and those costs are allocated to the users. Those payments that those users make are put back into major and local streets in a 50-50 split. It can be a little bit circular sometimes because major and local streets do use the plow. It's cleaner to just do all your debits and then your revenue.
So that includes snow plowing?
That includes snow plowing. Yes. Okay. Interest earned is a significant line item for major and local streets because major and local streets have very healthy balances. They earn quite a bit of interest, and in fact, much of their balances are invested in a state-approved investment fund called M-Class, and that interest is posted monthly. And then the fund balance is the other revenue stream, and that is how the village identifies the allocation of existing cash resources to contribute to this year's budget. Okay. You may notice if you can flip between major and local, the major numbers tend to be bigger than the local numbers, even though we have way more local miles of street. Way more, right? So we're talking single digits, by the way, miles in the village. Way more local than major, but the per mile reimbursement rate from the state of Michigan is much higher for majors. All right, okay, moving on to the expenditures. All right, professional services. We're going to see these department numbers repeat too in some places, but 268, professional services. The village may hire an engineering firm from time to do things. For example, they'll do a street surface assessment. What is the surface quality on the streets? Should you plan for doing a resurfacing? Should you just plan to fill potholes? Is this one of high quality? Does this one just need to be replaced? Okay. It also includes the admin fee here. And the admin fee is how each of the funds, exclusive of general, pay back general fund for the use of the office staff, the office equipment, the software that the office uses to do financial work. So all of that, and the council. So all of those administrative functions are housed in the general fund, and each fund pays back to the general fund a percentage to cover those costs. Act 51 caps at 10%. So the village generally plans to, as an admin fee, a little bit less, like 9, sometimes 8%. That way, if there's some drift in there that the accountants find when they do the audit, we're still under the 10%. Okay. And that admin fee, we're going to see that in every fund. We're going to see it as revenue in general. We're going to see it as an expense in every other fund. Okay. Department 444, sidewalks maintenance. Okay, that's sidewalks. Department 463, regular maintenance. That's going to be street maintenance, again, resurfacing, filling potholes, putting up signs, mowing along the edge, trimming trees, things that they have to do. The employee expenses while working on the streets. The equipment line item under expense, under 463, equipment is for the purchased and repair of equipment. That is different than the equipment charges, which is the rental charge for use of existing equipment. Okay. We have two types of maintenance materials in here. We've got a maintenance material. That's for material the DPW staff purchases and uses. We also have repairs maintenance, and that one is to hire contractors to do the work. Yes.
So this is all defined by the state of Michigan?
This is defined by the village and informed by the state of Michigan. So the codes that we're looking at, those 3-digit account codes, are defined by the state of Michigan. You can use this series of codes for wages. You can use this series for consumables. You can use this series for contracted services. How they are named is up to the village.
Would you have to delineate or separate contracted services versus internal village services?
You do not have to. It helps for analyzing the budget. It helps for understanding where the money is going, and it helps to allocate the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the more detail you have.
The more detailed, the better your reports are, the better your understanding. And the easier actually it is to set a budget. It may seem harder that you have more line items, but if they're refined, you can get better numbers. Okay. All right, and here's our favorite one, Department 478, ice and snow removal. Thank God for that this year. So, that is, in a nutshell, major and local streets. It's where the money comes from, it's where the money goes. Any more questions? Okay, let's move on. Municipal streets. So this is the relatively new created one. It was created in 2016 because we didn't want the village property tax, road tax, and the county road tax being caught up in the Act 51 restrictions. So it gave us much more leeway to do that. All right.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Did I do that?
All right. So major revenue sources for municipal street fund are the village road tax. You will see in here road tax, personal property tax, property. You'll see that in several places. You'll see it in sewer, general fund, and municipal streets. They have both property, real property, which is what most of us see. There's personal property that businesses pay on their equipment within the village. So those are all taxes that are taxed at the same millage rate, right? Whether it's the business assets for the lighthouse, or if it's, what Emily pays for her piece of property. Okay, so I didn't really break out the road tax, personal property tax, right? The county contribution, if you look at your township tax bill, we pay a tax to the county. They turn around and hand some of it back to us. Not all, they keep most of it to do their job, but they turn some of it back over to the municipalities, the villages, and the city of Frankfurt. Okay. Other revenues, in this case it's only $50, but sometimes money shows up and you got to put it somewhere. And it's really, it's in the noise, but it has a home.
Like what?
Honestly, I was racking my brain on what this could be. It could be anything from a village resident handing the village money to clear up, as a thank you for the pothole. I don't know.
Okay.
It could be, it's a very small number. It wasn't even used last year. So, but it's there. It's been used in the past. But again, very small numbers, it's noise level. Okay. And then the rentals. So municipal street charges rent to the village office because the village garage and the village office are in the same building. The building is owned by DPW, the garage. And the office pays rent to the garage for its space. That's what the rentals are.
Why is it structured that way? It's village property.
We had a reason. I can't remember. There was a good reason, but it basically came down to, it's in lieu of owning its own building or paying rent to, like Gilmore Township pays rent to us for use of the community building.
And we got it lowered. We're paying too much.
And everyone says that. Everyone says their rent's too high.
So is DPW paying the village or the village paying DPW?
The village office,
Yeah.
101, general fund, is paying municipal streets, the village garage, for use of the space. At one point, because the bathroom is in the village garage, but the bathroom is in the village office. The water bill is paid by the garage. And yes, the village pays its own water bills to itself. Again, one of those circular things, but it keeps the bookkeeping clean.
Is it because one of the funds has more money than the other one?
Well, general fund, remember, has been in a deficit for 20 years.
Right.
So that's not why.
So that's not why.
That's not why. And it certainly, if my explanation is not the greatest, so feel free to ask that question from the Budget Finance Committee, why? All right, municipal fund expenses. We've got professional services, again, if we need any engineering help, okay? The employee benefits, the DPW employees are kind of homeroomed into this fund. So that's where their benefits are captured, right? They get a health insurance stipend, and they get if they choose, they can get a contribution to a retirement account. All right. The Department 441 is garage. This is where fuel shows up. Act 51 does not allow fuel charges against it. So we could never buy fuel under the major or local streets. So all the fuel that goes into all of our vehicles is paid for by the garage. No consumables under Act, oh, I have action. See, I had a typo. I'm going to fix the typo and then we'll send it out. By Act 51 does not allow consumables. Okay. The liability and workers' comp insurance premium, this is the first time we've seen that in our review today. We're going to see it in a lot of places. The liability insurance and the workers' comp insurance is paid. We've got a total bill, but it's itemized out by, in the case of workers' comp, by type of employee. In the case of liability, by our kind of by service or location. Liability insurance is what helps us in case we get sued. Workers' comp is what helps out our workers should they be injured on the job. Okay. All right, utilities and phone. So here we go. These are the utilities for the building at 151 Pearson Street. Okay. Department 446 is roads. It's going to be, there's not, I don't recall that there's too much in there. I don't actually have a copy of the budget in front of me right now, so I'm working off memory. And then street lighting. Street lighting was always a big expense. And again, not allowed under major and local streets. So in creating this municipal street fund, we got the street lighting out of general and into municipal streets. It allowed us to use our taxes to pay for that as opposed to covering it by the deficit. And it used to run quite high. Consumers has been slowly changing out our lights to LEDs, which has brought the bill down significantly. Not all of them, but we're getting there. Yeah, it's come down about 40%. All right, any other questions? We're moving on to the park fund. I know we've got some park people in here. All right, so our park fund revenue, we've got Parks and Rec fundraisers. Most of us in the room have participated in those in some way, shape, or form in the past. Alberta Beach fundraisers. Sometimes people write checks and donate money to Parks and Rec. The municipal is a tax-exempt organization, and people who donate money to the municipality do get to write it off on their taxes should they itemize their taxes. Okay. And I don't know if they do it. I know I used to, occasionally we get donations and I would send a letter to the person thanking them and citing the IRS code that they were allowed to use for the deduction. Interest, we've talked about that one. Edna, Alberta Dunes South Natural Area, affectionately called Edna. So Edna, the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy has an endowment fund that they manage on behalf of Alberta Dunes South. Usually there's a call or an email or something at some point in the year that says, do you need the money this year? And sometimes the village has said, yes, send it to us. And sometimes the village has said, no, keep it. We don't have any projects planned. And even if they sent the money, maybe it didn't all get spent. So the Edna fund balance is that money that was distributed to the village in prior years that has not been spent. The Edna endowment is this year's distribution. Yes, Dan.
So Parks and Rec is a 501c3.
The village is. And it's not 501(c)(3). It's a different subtext of the code, but it is the whole village. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you can write a check to the village and it's tax deductible.
Yes.
Not your water bill.
But you don't get to do that for your water, your sewer, your taxes.
Just for Parks and Rec.
You have to do it and not receive any personal goods or services in return, right? When you pay your water bill, you're getting services. When you pay your sewer bill, you're getting a service. When you pay your taxes, you're getting services, right? If you just out of your own free will, not expecting anything in return, that's a donation, and yes, that part is tax deductible.
So wait, what about the beach planks?
They are a fundraiser, and yeah, if people want to write off, how much do they charge for a beach plank these days?
Not enough?
Okay. Yeah. Bear in mind that with the standard deduction these days, very few people, there's a larger percentage of people that take the standard deduction now than they don't itemize.
Yeah.
So, but they could, as long as there were no goods or services exchanged. Okay. Yeah. So at this point, we are about 40 minutes in. How are people doing? Still with me?
Yeah.
We're on park fund expenses. All right, keep the blood moving, don't fall asleep. Okay. The expenses, Parks and Rec. We lump all the Parks and Rec projects together because I don't know that you guys spend much time planning out. We're going to spend, $40 on a new filter for the water fountain in Penfold Park, and we're going to spend. So it's lumped together. Alberta Beach gets its own code to do special projects down there. And then Alberta Dunes South, the village mows it, the village plows it, the village, I think, volunteers maintain the trail, the village puts a portage on there in the summertime. So those are covered by, that's what the endowment is. The platform that was built using slave labor was paid for with the endowment. Okay, can you edit that part out?
Is that the Boy Scouts?
No, there's a
Seeds.
yeah, Seeds. There, thank you. Yeah, Seeds did it. I think they're teenagers, so we can work them harder. All right, that's Parks and Rec. Sewer. All right. Major revenue streams. Sewer taxes on our village property taxes. I have yet to be able to verify this, even though I have scoured past newspapers. But I do believe that when the majority of Blue was done in '89, the village levied a tax, which means the voters would have had to vote on that. But I can't find a proof of that, so that is a little bit of supposition that our tax for sewer in the village is directly to pay for BLUA and the debt bond that they incurred when they were constructed. In the past, the numbers, the revenue and the expense has been remarkably identical, which is why I say that. This year it's getting a little bit off, so things change. Property values go up, I guess.
They're going to start billing us for that new construction.
Yes, and in fact, that new construction, so Dan asked about the new construction, and I was talking with the library about that yesterday too. That is another revenue bond that BLUA has undertaken with the approval of the state of Michigan and the federals and Eagle, and the city of Frankfort and the village of Elberta are splitting the costs of that debt servicing of that bond, and they're embedding it into our utility rates this time around.
Meaning no increase, they're going to take it out of what exists, or they're going to raise it?
Raise the rates, most likely, if they haven't already.
It's allocated on a per capita basis.
Yes, it is a per capita basis. There is a little question there because if the village is paying a sewer tax and the agreement says that those people that live between our transfer station and BLUA along Lake Avenue, the ones on the water side that can't pass a perk test and have their own septic system, they have to hook into the sewer line and the village receives that revenue, including those new condos that are going in theory. I don't know what the actual agreement was with those condos being constructed.
The new condos?
Yep. So. All right, so taxes. Taxes, personal property taxes, delinquent taxes. All right, hook up and decert permits. So very little construction goes on in Alberta, but yay, we've had some recently, right? We had a new, 5 years ago, somebody built a house in the swamp. Barb Harju's house down on Furnace Avenue was decommissioned. So there are costs to hook up to our sewer. There's costs to disconnect from the sewer. And that's what this is, the hookup decert permits. All right. There is a law in the village that says if you are within 300 feet of a village sewer line, you must connect. So, all right. Late charges, sewer charges. I'm going to have to correct something here, but the late charges, sewer charges, that's our water, that's our sewer bills. Right, we see those. Hookup decert permits. You have to get a permit to decert and to hook up. To actually do it, once that permit's approved, that's the hookup fees. Okay. Interest earned, we've talked about. Other revenue, they've got a budget there. Nothing's come in. Zero for last year. And then the fund balance, that's again bringing money forward, cash reserves forward to use in this year's budget. Okay. All right, expenses. We've got sanitation activities. This is keeping our shit flowing. Here's the first time we see the account postage, right? The water and sewer, split the cost of postage to send us our bills. If you signed up for email billing, you're saving the village some money. Pat yourself on the back. All right. Depreciation really shouldn't be shown here. And I suspect that's just a faulty filter to present this, because depreciation is not something that we put in the budget. It is a back-end accounting to evaluate the system. Okay. Badger meters, it's cost of new meters. Our current meters, which were put in the, I want to say the early aughts, are at the end of their life and systematically getting replaced as they fail. Annual dues. The village pays annual dues to the Michigan Rural Water Association. I cannot tell you how important those dues are. Because every time we have a turnover in the DPW and we do not have an active water or sewer operator, they step in and do the job for us. And they do other things too, but that's the big one. And they do it for the cost of our dues. They don't charge us extra to provide a fully qualified water or sewer operator to keep our systems compliant with the state environmental laws. All right. So we've got debt retirement. That is BLUA debt. We have BLUA operation and maintenance charges. So when we get a bill from BLUA every month, it comes with 2 line items. This is how much of your debt that you're paying off because you agreed to when we signed up to this bond. And then this is what it actually costs for us to process your sewage. Okay. The debt retirement is apportioned per agreement. The O&M charges are per gallon. Admin fee, again, we talked about admin fees. I repeated myself. I said I wasn't going to, but here are the admin fees again. Something to note is that admin fees are inconsistent or not equally applied across all funds in terms of percentage of revenue or usage. So, NRWA, interest and loan principal. Yeah, there was a bit of a spill in 2018, and the village had to lickety-split get a loan to pay for the cleanup. And that one will be paid back by July 1st of 28. That was a 10-year loan. Okay. The Department 901, sewer system improvements, this is all the debt servicing that we have. Most of our loans come through the USDA rural grants, and they come as a grant-loan combination, which is incredibly generous. Thank you, USDA, because we would not be able to pay for most of our infrastructure without them. So we take on a smaller percentage of a loan. The bulk of it's paid for with grant money. So part of that loan, it becomes a bond. USDA packages it up, puts it out on the bond market, la 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 la. But there are terms and conditions to that. They include carrying, not only paying the principal and interest, but also building up some reserve funds so that we can pay for emergencies, and we have to show proof that we are contributing to these reserve funds every year. So that's what the bond reserve and the RR&I are. All right, any questions?
You said that,
Oop.
going back to the administration fees being inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, were you saying that that is true? Is that true as a matter of course, or are you saying that is something that seems weird?
It is, it could be questioned.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's wrong.
Right.
Certainly when we're looking at a business fund, and this is one way to both cover the costs of the village office and the clerk and treasurer and the software and all that stuff, but also maybe can think of it as drawing off profit to feed the village coffers. Okay. Because it is hard to justify the water and sewer large numbers on administration fee in just saying it's covering the costs of the office support.
Seems like something like that was happening for a while in the past.
It's been, yeah, because I put it in place. I put it in place and I justified it. Every year I had it, but the numbers have grown significantly. But so it's up to, it's up to you if you want to question it. If you don't want to question it, that's fine. It's because there's also a little bit of a, you can use that excess money to pay off some of this debt that the water and sewer have. You can use some of that excess money to fix other things in the village.
And normally the administration is somewhere 10 and 9%, somewhere in there.
You're going to have to do the math yourself. So for the major and local streets, it's capped by the state, by law, 10%. It's not capped elsewhere. That is up to the discretion of the village. Right. It is a question we get from the auditors pretty much every year. What is this and why?
So there's not a lot of discretionary revenue in this budget. A lot of it's the big items, sewer, water, roads, major roads.
Taxes. Yeah.
Yeah, just in and out.
Well, when you say discretionary revenue, so Dan asked about discretionary, when you say discretionary revenue, this is it. This shifting of funds from money from one fund to another, that is pretty much it
Yeah.
for, quote, discretionary revenue. Yeah.
It comes in and it goes out.
That's the intent. I mean, it's a village, it's a public,
It's not a profit.
we're not for profit. They are providing services to us, the taxpayers, for this.
So the rates, like the water rates, sewer rates, it's all break even.
In theory, yes. Bearing the other side, other than requiring to contribute to these emergency reserve funds, right? And that is somebody calculates what it should be. We also have to have a minimum ready to serve charge to be qualified for a USDA grant. And that can be pretty high. Yeah. So part of it is mandated for us to be eligible for a grant, and part of it is there's a gentleman at Michigan Rural Water Association who calculates things out and about what the rate should be. And then we also have a statutory, we added it in 15, maybe 16, statutory rate increase for cost of living. Because certainly when I started in the village office, our water and sewer rates hadn't changed in 30 years. And there were some council members who thought that was appropriate. So yeah, so there was a provision put into the water and sewer ordinance to go up with the cost of living as defined by, and it actually calls out the report from the federal government on cost of living on that one, or by 3%, whichever one is greater. And that's at the discretion of the council. Council has sometimes chosen not to increase the rates, but they have to make that decision annually to not implement this automatic rate increase.
It would automatically go up.
It would automatically go up. It's applied, and since we're billed in arrears, you would see that on your April bill, because our March bill reflects our February usage, right, which is prior fiscal year. Okay. Yeah. All right, any more questions about sewer? So water is substantially similar to sewer. Again, with the revenue, we're looking at hookup. I do not know why Badger Meters is a revenue source for water. Emily, is that something that you've encountered while you were serving? It is a revenue source. It is not, both water and sewer have Badger Meters as an expense, but those expenses do not match this revenue. So I do not know what this revenue is.
Well, I know that
Is it a-
they're applying for a grant, but that wouldn't be put in there, so I don't know what that is either.
All right.
That's why the expenses are lower, because
Are
they're
they-
expecting some grant funds to come in.
Are they maybe selling
They may be selling them.
them?
I don't know. That's a good thought, Emily, that maybe the village is selling some of the Badger Meters.
Because they're changing them out for a different kind, maybe?
Well, Badger's the manufacturer, so.
Right.
Yeah, but we're getting a different model numbers.
They might be getting a different version or something.
Yeah. Well, certainly I know mine was changed out when they did the water upgrades
That actually sounds big.
in 23.
Could they have been in inventory?
I mean, but the number's not big. So this is almost below my worry about it threshold. But it'd be nice to know. Yeah, inquiring minds. All right, the water gets on-off fees because we have water valves. We do not have sewer valves. Sewer just flows. Water can be turned on and off. And you can be thankful for that. All right. Late charges, that's part of our water billing. The water charges, again, the hookup fees, if people have to, if they want to hook up to our water system, interest, other revenues, there's money there, but it was nothing was incurred last year. And then fund balance is there, but that's not. Depreciation shows up here as a revenue stream. I did make a note here. Depreciation is a non-cash accounting adjustment representing the wear and tear of assets. Should not be showing up on our budget report. I think that's just a mistake in the filters. So just ignore it. And same with if fund balance shows up and there's a 0 across the board on fund balance, again, that was probably a mistake in the filters. So
on the water charges, looks like an increase. Does that mean that they're applying a 3% increase? Is that what it looks like? It looks like more like a 10% increase.
could be, I think I gotta do the
Well,
math.
So I will say at the budget meeting,
Yeah.
they said both water and sewer rates are going to be raised. And they didn't know how much, so they might have estimated it too much, they said in the sewer, but they thought the water might actually have to go up higher. And that maybe by March they would have a better idea.
Okay. Yeah. So so the budget meeting, they gave you an answer. In reality, the federal government puts out those COLA numbers at the beginning of the year so that
Inflation will be higher than 3%, so maybe that's their increase.
I'm not sure if inflation's 10%, but
No, it's not 10%.
but I would expect, and this is where notes that accompany a budget would really be helpful to help us understand, especially something like this, which is not just us understanding the budget, but for those of us who are paying these bills, understanding why are these bills going up? What is the thought process there? All right. Again, I don't know that there isn't a notes, I just haven't seen it, if it does exist.
It wasn't in
Okay.
the draft that they posted.
Okay. All right. Expenses. So here's the first time we see the active. Oops. Sorry about that. First time we see chemicals. The village does inject chlorine into our water system to keep bacteria from growing in stagnant lines. It's safe. It is perfectly safe. Publishing, first time we've seen publishing. This is the cost of putting out that water quality report we all get annually. And of course the water is required to be tested monthly. And last year we saw 2 erratas about the testing not getting done on time, right? So that's part of the publishing. Okay. The water system improvements, Department 902, similar to the sewer, that's our debt servicing for USDA loans. I did see this MFA loan principal and interest. So that's Michigan Finance Authority. It is a Michigan Finance Authority, among other things, will do low interest loans to municipalities to comply with the Safe Drinking Water Act. So I don't know, and I didn't see this debt servicing in last year's audit or the prior audit, and I did not see this alluded to anywhere in the minutes for the last year. So I don't really know why we took on this debt. I don't know, but it's there. Or maybe someone will say it's a typo, but it's in our, Emily, again, is this ringing any bells? That the water took on debt for some low interest loan from the state?
There were there were different loans related to the water project.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if this is just like carryover. So
again, the loans are delineated, our payment schedule is delineated in our audits annually. I did not see this loan. That triggered it.
That MFA doesn't sound familiar.
But I can only speculate that this may be a loan that we took on to do some of the service line replacements in accordance with the Water Safety Act.
That would make sense, but it is weird that, I don't know if it doesn't sound familiar, but I'm wondering if it's maybe, is it possible that it's related to the next phase of the line replacements? Because they're gonna do more.
Yeah, we have 20 years to complete them all, and they started, well,
Right.
they were supposed to start during COVID. I think they got delayed because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, it's speculation, possibly, maybe probably, has to do with the service line replacements that the village is paying for. Thank you, Flint. They have surface water, we have groundwater. Different thing. Okay. Finally, we get to our favorite, general fund. This revenue, the screenshot takes 2 pages. So, property taxes, major source of revenue, right? We've talked about property taxes. We've talked about personal property taxes. Those are business assets that are taxed at the same rate. We get penalties. There is a admin fee that is collected here at this level. That's on our tax bill. You see it down at the bottom. Okay, she's laughing.
Tax over/under $1.20, really?
I suspect that was an auditor adjustment that slipped in. So, okay. Because I haven't seen that when I was processing taxes in the past. So I think it's probably just maybe a rounding error that the auditor slid in there. All right, zoning permits. For those of you on the new members on the Planning Commission, thank you.
I paid into it also.
Yes, yes. We appreciate the people who have pulled their zoning permits. Federal grants, we did not incur anything did not receive anything last year, fiscal year. We are not planning on receiving anything this fiscal year. There was a tail end of a federal grant that came in, that was budgeted last year but never came in.
Okay.
So it must have been closed out, is all I can think. Otherwise, we'd still carry that forward. All right. Local community stabilization. Now I have to look at my slide. Okay. Telecom taxes. So this is the we pay our fees to Charter and AT&T and Sprint, and they turn around and they pay their taxes to the state of Michigan, and it comes back to us as local community stabilization. Okay. State shared revenue. Based on our population, the state of Michigan hands us a portion of the sales tax, state sales tax. Okay. Other state revenue. Every now and then, actually probably on a more frequent basis than you would think, the state tosses us money, and then we have to go figure out why. There were COVID distributions. Every now and then, the local audit unit, Department of Treasury, will hand us some money to get help with reconciliations. We do get payments in lieu of taxes for the DNR land that's in the village. Okay. So DNR owns and manages the wetlands up here against the Betsy, and also the what will someday be the Betsy Valley Trail that runs down to the beach. Okay.
And just to point, the increase there I asked about, and they applied for money to pay for the codification.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hopeful that that'll come in from the state.
Okay.
That's why it's going up to 35.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. State revenue liquor control. We get a portion of the liquor license fees from venues in the village. So Cabot Shed and Mayfair.
So,
And I think does the marina still sell beer? They may have a liquor license too.
How about the distillery?
Oh, the distillery. Yes, thank you. Forgot about the distillery. Yeah. All right. Admin fees as a revenue item. this is where all the money trickles in from the other funds to support the general fund. Okay. And then short-term rental fees. Thank you, Emily, for defining that for me. Could not figure out what STR was. That's, we do issue up to 25 short-term rental permits in the village every year. Okay. All right, continue with revenue. We get cleanup fees. That's the collections for our annual cleanup day. Right? People show up with a truckload of stuff to throw in the dumpster. That's where the collections go. For those of you who get trash carts, this is where your trash cart revenue comes into the village, right? If you don't use trash carts and you put out the colored garbage bags, they sell those at the village too. Merchandise sales, that's going to be village paraphernalia that's not Parks and Rec. So I think there's a couple hats, a t-shirt, a hat, the Black Lock books are there. Okay. LSS rentals and facility rental deposit. So income from the Alberta Life Saving Station. It's a nice number. Yep. We do break out the deposits because part of the contract is that deposits get returned. So you'll see an expense for that deposit also, or all or some of their deposits returned based on the condition after the rental. Similar with other facilities, for the pavilions that we have, or the parks, or the amphitheater, they also have their own rental rates and deposit structure. We also rent to Gilmore Township, the community building, for their use and for elections, and the city of Frankfurt. They store stuff in that garage next to the community building. Okay. Other revenues, I'm not really sure what that is. It's probably like other money that shows up that nobody can figure out why it came in. It happens. Every now and then there's an ACH at the bank and everyone's like, where'd this come from?
Could that possibly be where things like, I was going to ask this earlier, but so for example, if somebody like the code enforcement officer doesn't accept his fee and donates it back to the village, would that go there?
Does the code enforcement officer get a fee? Because I couldn't.
He is supposed to get paid.
Okay, so that must. Okay.
And he didn't charge last year.
So when you have something like you've got a contract with the code enforcement officer and they don't collect their fees or it gets returned, you can handle it either as a revenue and an expense or as an expense and it gets adjusted up and down.
Okay.
So, and I don't know how that's being handled in the village office. Okay. All right. Permits for setting up information tables. $10, yep. And ELS has fundraising. Every now and then somebody hands us a donation for the life-saving station. And then reimbursements. And this is speculation, but we think it's probably a placeholder for the grant money that's coming in. It was announced in all the papers. How many millions was it that we're getting from the state? And that would be to purchase Terminus from Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. And I think it's just a placeholder for that.
We got another one here, though, maybe it is.
Yeah, they've got the placeholder.
What did we do?
They got a new park place.
Oh, okay. That's. So what you guys are looking at a version that was posted after I grabbed my screenshot. So.
Yeah, I pulled this yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I did the screenshots a while ago. Yeah, right after they were posted.
Okay.
So last weekend.
Maybe they updated it.
Looks like they have. So yeah. So then I don't know what the reimbursements is then. Unless that may be how they're doing the transfer of somebody not using their fee, right? Sometimes things get created and we're stuck with them for a while. Right. All right. Now we're into expenses for the general fund. I'm going to do a time check because I was going to be. I am running into your time now, so we're going to go through this as fast as I can. Council, we pay our council. We pay the staff that shows up at council. We have a new department for village manager. with the typical things that go along with wages and training and whatnot. Same thing with clerk and treasurer. We've got wages, we've got training, we've got Social Security and Medicare, we've got the costs of keeping an employee. Then we go on to Department 261, the office. Pay your rent to the garage. The office consumables like paper and pens. I think I broke a rubber band there when I was there 2 days ago. The equipment that's in the office are going to be their computers or copiers. Services printing versus publishing. So services printing, the county prints out our tax bills and sends us a bill for the tax bills. Publishing, there are a number of things, activities the village engages in that have to be published in the newspaper of record by law. And that's what the publishing budget's for. Okay. Including the announcement that went in last week's Record Patriot that our budget review meeting is this Thursday. All right. Community building, again, there's more things than just the cleaning fee, but I'm not repeating things. Anytime the DPW goes down to work there, they get paid wages. We do have a cleaning fee. We contract out the cleaning of the bathrooms at the community building. Moving forward, we've got this professional services. So we have an attorney that is, I guess, on retainer. We pay their charges as they bill us for work, as opposed to auditor fees where we contract with an auditor for a fixed rate. Okay. Michigan Municipal League provides training and reference materials. I will note that they provide a lot of very interesting one-page fact sheets that are available to the general public. They also provide some things that are reserved for members so that municipalities can compare wages across, of like village size, like who else pays what, right? Again, liability insurance. I'm not sure what the the generic annual dues are. I don't think it's too much money. But I'm not really sure what that is because the MML dues are covered. The Michigan Rural Water dues. I don't know what this particular annual dues are. It's hard to say that. Annual dues are for. And again, another miscellaneous line item. All right. Employee benefits. This is the benefits for the employees that are covered under general fund, which are going to be your clerk, treasurer, your utility clerk. They accrue vacation/sick leave. At least the full-time employees do. I'm not sure what the policy is right now on the part-time on accrual. I haven't seen that. There is a health insurance stipend available to full-time employees.
I'll just comment on that. Just so they are proposing raising the health insurance stipend from $500 a month to $750 a month for full-time employees, which is why you see the increase, and of course the village manager is included in there as well. So, and then also they're looking at somehow increasing the retirement benefit, but they hadn't quite figured out what they were going to be doing with it yet. So you'll notice that a number in those different departments, the retirement benefit is raised significantly, not in alignment with the wage. So that was a question I had. And then just to let you all know, also on the office expenses, I asked about computer services because it was
It's huge.
yeah, and surveillance cameras.
Okay. That's going under the computer services.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's interesting. I did see the council minutes where they approved the surveillance camera, so good to know. Would be nice if they called that out as a separate line item.
IT is different than surveillance.
Well, there's also the subscription service you're paying for hosting, for saving the video, recalling the video, managing the video. I don't know how the village plans on doing it. I haven't seen the details. I don't really care about the details of that contract, but there's probably a contract there. All right. And then unemployment. The village does not participate in the state unemployment insurance program, which may explain some of our termination decisions over the years, because the village has opted to pay, or to reimburse the state unemployment insurance for any claims made by former village employees.
Say that again? Sorry.
All right, so in lieu of paying into the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Program, right, which would be a contribution to the state, the village has opted to take the, if a former village employee makes an unemployment claim, the village will reimburse the state unemployment insurance agency for the amount of that claim. And that's an option that's available to municipalities.
Is that a good idea?
If all you have are part-time employees, yes, because part-time employees don't necessarily get unemployment insurance. If everyone leaves of their own accord, yes, because if you willingly leave a job, you are not entitled to an unemployment claim. If you are fired for cause, for non-performance, you don't necessarily get an unemployment insurance claim. It is if you are fired, if you are an at-will employee and fired for an unjustified reason, then you can make an unemployment claim. Yep. Downsizing or whatever. Which is, again, you may see our village office job definitions shift around from time to time as a way to get around this. Okay. I don't know, Department 340, I don't know what the expenses are for rentals. There may be some expense associated with rentals. This is not the deposit refunds. It would be called deposit refunds, so I don't really know what this is. They're not.
The commission?
The life saving station has a manager that gets a commission.
Right.
That's covered under life saving station. This is just rental expenses. I don't know. If somebody's rented anything from the village and there are village expenses associated with that rental, I don't know. Okay, but it's there and there are some numbers there. I don't think they're very big. All right, moving on to refuse collection. So waste removal is the village dumpsters. We've got them at the office, the beach, and life saving station. So it's waste management comes and empties those dumpsters once or twice a week, depending on the season. Spring cleanup, that's when the village rents the dumpster for our spring cleanup. Garbage bags, the village buys garbage bags from waste management, resells them to the village. There is they do that, they set the prices in association with other regional municipalities. Because for a while there, you could go to Beulah and get your garbage bags cheaper than you could in Alberta. Can't do that anymore. But I did make several trips to Beulah of the day. And then the trash carts. And again, the village has a small markup on what they charge us for the trash carts compared to what they pay waste management. It's not much. And it's actually a set rate that is, again, agreed to with other local municipalities who do the cart program. All right, Planning Commission. There's a contracted services and there is a zoning administrator fees. So we do have a contract with the zoning administrator. That's a flat rate. I don't know what the contracted services are. It looks like the same flat rate. Maybe that's our code enforcement. Okay. All right. So yeah, because somebody had said the code enforcement officer does not receive any money, and so
That might be it for the consultant too, who's been helping the planning commission rewrite their zoning.
that's the specific projects.
Yeah, that's specific
Oh,
project.
specific project.
That
Oh.
is specific project.
Okay.
Yeah. So contracted services, that may be our code enforcement officer.
It is.
Okay. All right. Department 754, Waterfront Park Life Saving Station. Again, we're looking at only the unique activities or unique accounts going on here. We do have a pest control contract for the Life Saving Station. It's an old building. It needs it. This is where the LSS management fee. So there is a contract between the village and the Life Saving Station manager. And there's contracts between the manager, the village, and the rentals. And they spell all this out. So the life saving station manager collects a fee for every contract signed. Life saving station manager also is responsible for making sure that life saving station is cleaned after each rental. That's a flat rate per rental. Moving. Moving services is mowing services. Sorry, no one's moving that I know of. The village hires out mowing of Waterfront Park. Everything else they tend to do themselves. But that Waterfront Park, it's got a hill. And so we have somebody else do it. And then rental deposit refunds, that's in, I have to correct that one. Deposits are not paid in prior years. They're actually paid 90 days before the rental, so I have to fix that line item. I messed up the contract in my head when I was typing this out the first time and didn't correct it. But yeah, so they do a reservation. That reservation fee pays for Christy, to our life saving station manager. And that reservation fee comes off the cost of their rental. They also pay a deposit. They have to show it. They have to provide it separately, a separate check for the deposit and their rental. And then they get the deposit, all or portion of it back, depending on the condition of the building after the rental. All right. Penfield Park has its own department. Elberta Beach has its own department to manage costs there. Village beautification, we've got these lovely planters that are throughout the village. Let's hope it goes forward because we lost our person who was doing that. So,
Kathy, what is utilities and phone for Penfield Park and utilities and phone for Elberta Beach?
we have bathrooms.
Yeah, I know, I clean them. I'm thinking about that power washing I did over at Penfield Park to get rid of all those spiders and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so the village charges itself because we issue a bill to each water meter connection, and we issue a bill to ourselves, and we pay ourselves. It sounds kind of circular, but it keeps the accounting straight.
Okay.
Yep. So that's and
Taking that literally is a little difficult for me to understand.
We get billed by consumers, right? The address of Penfield Park is different than the village office. The address of the sewer pump house, the address of the well houses, right? They all use electricity. They get a separate bill. They have a separate meter from consumers. So yeah.
Thank you.
So their bills are portioned out based on the site. All right. So that concludes my run through. And I'm sorry, I went way, way over. I apologize. Do we have any questions? I am available to you to help come up with more questions if you have them.
Are you doing another one of these too?
This is,
Is there a series or just one?
Well, no.
there's one budgeting.
It's very complicated.
It may appear so, but it is a system. And once you get your hands around the system, it is structured and you can follow along. Right? It's just like any other system. If you know how music works, if you know how,
To build a house.
yeah, yep. It's a system. There are regulations for it and they are repeatable. So that's our system for budgeting. That's how your taxpayer dollars are spent. That's how the village makes money.
Will the money, theoretical money that we're going to get from the waterfront park, will that go into this budget?
It will go in as a budget amendment when the money is released. So it's been awarded, hasn't been released to the village. It would have to go in as a budget amendment. Notice we also do not have the Terminus Park identified as its own department. So there's a little bit to be done here.
So, yes, so at the end of the year, the council, they have to adopt budget amendments if any of the budget categories have gone over or under